right, 12:03 on the oil stream. What to discuss today? No shortage of things to discuss today, I should say.
No, not at all.
EST Afternoons coming up a little bit later on, and the Reed Wilkins Show today as well. And we got lots to get to. We'll get to Keep It or Clip It for Tommy Guns. We'll get to your Popeyes headlines. As always, the oil stream is brought to you by Boston Pizza, where on Wednesday we got a double dip day. Wednesday for lunch, we're in Mayo, Boston Pizza. And then Wednesday night, you're at Westgate.
Yes.
Boston Pizza.
Let's go.
Oh, boy, a double shot. So if you're in the Mayo neighborhood, you can join us for lunch on Wednesday. I'll be there for the lock shop. I'll be there for the oil stream from 11 until 1. Swing on by, grab lunch, super cheap, super quick. And then Tommy B set up at Westgate as well that night for the game.
Busy boys.
Yeah, very busy boys, aren't we?
I like it. Welcome back, by the way.
Lots of different Boston pizzas. Thanks for welcoming back.
Am I the first? I hope not.
No, I think LT kind of welcomed me back as well.
He's very good at that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, it looked like a great time.
It was a pretty good time. It was quick, but it was a good time.
Worth it. And I was listening to the bath story. I noticed you doing your cool bet pick of the day
from the tub, from the bubble bath,
and I was like, okay, this is good.
Have you ever been in a bath that had jets coming up from the bottom?
No, and you were
Very
talking
weird.
about it, and I thought to myself, what a different experience.
Yeah. No, and they weren't like huge jets. It was just like little jets, but like 30 of them.
Look out.
And just like little bubble makers. It was just,
was
very
it very
cool.
like a massaging type of thing?
I don't know. I kind of a little bit, I guess. A little bit.
Were you like, ooh?
No, it was pretty firm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was rumbling my legs and my butt. And it was a pretty good time. But then I come back and old Hernan over here is like heartbroken now.
Why?
Like they've broken Hernan.
Who
get to
broke
a little bit
you?
more a little bit earlier on.
That
Hernan,
hockey
just
team?
the post games, they're just breaking this guy.
Oh, he was great yesterday.
Well, he was probably spicy, was he not?
He was, but him and Belzy, I actually sat back for like 10 minutes and I let
the guys cook.
Oh, they were cooking something delicious. And then I finally just said, why can't you guys use logic? How dare you use logic? How dare you use reason? How dare you look at this from a big picture point of view? All of it facetiously, of course, but
I just felt so bad. Hernan just looks beaten down. Looks like Oilers fans took him out behind the building.
Yeah,
and
just
kicked
take
the
me
crap
out
out
back
of him.
and fuck. And
Did you almost swear? Is that
I
what it
did,
was?
yeah.
Fa la 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 la.
Just take me out back and hit me with a bat in the shins. Or something. Yeah. I can't do it anymore. I'm out. I almost walked out yesterday.
So did the Oilers get speed bagged and curb stomped this weekend, as JMO described, or did you get?
I love it that you almost walked out of the postgame show.
Yeah, I just
when.
Remember, I was like, I'm done. I'm out.
You were gonna walk away and leave
camera.
me to deal with that.
It's all good. I mean, it is what it is.
It was. I'm not gonna lie to you. I drove home yesterday and be like, that was a lot of fun.
You know that
Boy,
meme
did they
with
suck.
with Keanu Reeves when he's
sucked.
like, I'm at the point in my life. If you say 1 + 1 is 5, sure, have it.
That's Nancy.
That's me with Stuart Skinner, and I don't care anymore. Yeah, sure. If he sucks, sure.
Yeah, sure.
But if we're gonna get a goalie, let's go out and get Vasilevsky or Hellebuck.
Right, now
go big.
Why not?
I like somebody texted in yesterday. Got to get the guy, whatever his name is, out of Utah. Good analysis. Like, if you're going to go and start throwing names around or goalies, at least know their names.
If you're going to acquire that guy, you got to spell it.
You might want to. I guarantee you, people can't even spell his name.
I can't
There's
spell
a
his name.
silent
I know
J
it's
in there.
Vimelka, and there's a J in there somewhere.
You better believe there's a J in there, and his first name's Carol.
VMELJKA?
It's like V.
No, there's an L. JLKA.
J.
Vimelka. Where's that J? Where's that J in there? Right?
It's like VEJ.
VE.
It's like Vejmelka.
Vejmelka. VEJ and then another E.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird.
You don't want that
spelling.
guy. Nobody can even spell it.
Can't even spell it.
If you are listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us, of course, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. It is the Oil Stream, brought to you by Boston Pizza. And as I mentioned, join us on Wednesday, the Mayo location for lunch.
Tony from BP says, no, you're there on Thursday. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I was like, there's not a game Wednesday.
I don't know. Tuesday, Thursday.
When you said you're there Wednesday, I was like, wait a second. Are the Oil playing Tuesday, Wednesday back to back?
Is it March yet? I don't know.
Man. So, yes, Thursday at Boston Pizza, Westgate. Wednesday for lunch. Today's Monday, right? So Monday, we're here. Tuesday, nobody's at a Boston Pizza. Wednesday, we're at Nemail for lunch. And then Thursday, you're at Westgate.
Yep.
Easy enough.
Easy peasy.
Easy enough here in the Oil Stream, brought to you by Boston Pizza.
I like in the nasty chat, the Georgia Satellite's like, Hernan, buddy, got to filter out the insufferables, my friend. That Georgia Satellite is looking out for a pal, and I love that and appreciate that. That's the best in people. But you should have seen the inbox yesterday and the nasty chat.
It was unreal.
Oh,
so worse since you've joined us.
This is like playoffs.
Worse than
bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Ours was pretty bad today too, from people going after the goalie perspective in the 6 o'clock hour. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I tuned into the 6 o'clock hour.
Hey, was that? Did you see nasty. That chat?
Oh, yeah. Was it bad?
Oh, that was bad. It wasn't like not coming at us, like just arguing with each other bad. Is that how it was for you guys? Or people? Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And
it kept going on my Twitter.
Sure.
One guy on my Twitter was like, Hernan said this and that. He goes, I'm going to start calling you out. I'm like, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't even know you, bro. Like, what do you want me to do?
I took that screen cap of the one goal where he was wide open in front of the net. And I circled it and said, you might want to cover this guy. And people were like, you know nothing about hockey. The issue here is a rebound. And I'm like, I know when rebounds are kicked out, you want somebody to cover the guy who's wide open in front of the bloody net. Like, you can't win right now with people in this city. None. You're either a card-carrying, water-carrying OEG media bitch, essentially, or you hate the team. And you're like, it's just, it is ridiculous. You carried that card.
I was a card-carrying OEG media bitch for 8 years. It's been 6 years or 7 now since.
But you can't win right now. That's why I had that one tweet yesterday. I was like, Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard will ruin this team and they won't win the cup. Now that I've said that, tomorrow on the show, we'll have Drager and Rashad.
Yes.
Because if you don't acknowledge the goaltending infutility, they hate you. Like, they hate you.
Not just that. We read out the lines. And me and Tom laughed.
Don't get me started on the lines. Like, even Knobloch sucked this weekend.
We laughed at the first line. And the first thing we got was, you guys hate Podkolzin. You guys don't appreciate what he does.
I didn't even see that.
And they combined for a dash -9.
We hate him because he does that.
It was a tough weekend.
I love that Murray called it the fourth line yesterday.
Well, but I mean, that's what I said. You somehow actually removed Connor McDavid from a top line. Like, you're playing with a waiver claim who was healthy scratch the game before.
Yeah.
And then Podkolzin. It's just, they end up being -9 as a group. Like,
that's worse than when they put Janmark on McDavid's line for a game.
Yeah, it's just, you have Zach Hyman playing with McDavid or Draisaitl. Like, somebody texted in today for 3 questions too many. Do you think Knobloch was trying to lose yesterday?
Yep.
Like, I don't know. Like,
sure.
Or didn't you guys get? Were they trying to punish McDavid?
Yep.
Maybe.
Sure.
Like, I
think that's just the best way. Like, he's gone. He's a Canadian hero, and they're like, reality check. Kapanen and Podkolzin are your wingers today.
Eat it.
It lasted 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it didn't last,
20 minutes longer than I thought it would, but yeah.
All right, 780-218-9999. Penner's Pancake says, I'm assuming the EST benefits plan comes loaded with free blood pressure medicine for the staff.
I think Joaquin's working on that.
You guys can share mine too, yeah. They'll bring them in. All right, there's lots to discuss today. You can text us at 780-218-9999. Tommy, as you watch this weekend unfold, what was the main driver behind getting their ass kicked back-to-back games?
Horrible defensive zone play. And I mean atrocious defensive zone play, stacked on top of neutral zone deficiencies, stacked on top of poor decisions in the offensive zone, and then followed up by bad goaltending and terrible special teams. Did I sum that up okay?
Like everything. That's the thing.
Awful coaching decisions.
This is why, yes, even Knobloch was not good this weekend. It was just a weird weekend for this team. Okay, I still think they're going to win the division.
Yes,
but it was a weird weekend for this team. I don't necessarily think everybody should panic because they were awful in every aspect of it. it was like, that's not going to happen very often moving forward. I mean, I would hope if it does, they're in a lot of trouble. But this is why, like, what frustrates me the most is, like, if you point out something negative about the team, somebody will reply no matter what and be like, well, actually, the only problem is goaltending.
Yep.
And I'm not saying goaltending isn't. Like, Skinner has not been good lately, and he wasn't good at the beginning of the year. There's some inconsistencies that should have you concerned. And people were calling for Pickard to actually become the number one. I don't think that's the case anymore, and it should have never been anyway. He's a career backup. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about here. But the frustrating part is the entire team was god-awful all weekend, but a lot of people only want to point to the goaltending. I'm like, look, I will have a fair goaltending conversation with you, but you can't tell me that this team this weekend was sewered by their goaltending. Did the goaltenders steal either game? No. Would they have had to have steal either game? Yes. They would have had to stole those games, put it in the back of a trunk, and bloody drove away with it.
Yep.
So,
that's fair.
I mean, the entire group sucked this week. McDavid's a -11 in his last 4 games. Like, it's...
Hey, did you hear Swainer? Swainer loves deep diving on stats. Connor McDavid, apparently first ever Oiler in franchise history to go 3 straight games, -3.
Really? Man, how do you find something
Swainer
like that?
looked it up.
How does Swainer do this stuff?
Brian Swain is
Who does he
like
think he is? Greg's? He always finds that stuff.
I know.
Like weird numbers. So he's the first Oiler ever
to go -3 in 3
Even during the decade of darkness, Taylor Hall didn't go -3 in 3 straight games?
Even between 92 and 96. Apparently, nobody went -3 for 3 straight games.
Wow.
There's a record McDavid now owns in franchise history.
That's weird.
That is a weird one.
That's weird.
Right? Nansola Swainer?
Yeah,
did he get back to
me
you?
every game.
Yeah, he texts
some cool stats.
Stats.
Before I said it on there, I'm like, he goes, Hernan, I quadruple check this.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, check again. Decade of Darkness, early 90s.
There had to have been some
And
time.
then he's like, not that I can find a player has gone 3 straight games as a -3. Because that's tough to do, guys.
That's
it's
impressive.
very tough to do. I like to imagine Swainer looking at every single player's game log for their entire career. And then we're like, check it again. It's like, oh, damn it. Anyway, just that's it. That's ridiculous.
I know.
I mean, so nothing's really going well with this team right now. That's the thing. Like,
they've hit their dog days slump. This is clearly it. Vegas just had theirs. They're coming out of it.
They've won 3 in a row, but they get the Kings tonight.
Edmonton needs to clean this up very quickly because you're in the stretch. This is the stretch drive. It's time to play big boy hockey. That's something that the Oilers struggle with. That's one thing that I would like to see. Like, we're going to talk about what we could see going to the deadline.
Lots of stuff.
Sometimes they play big boy hockey, but it's not in their nature to instinctually play big boy hockey. And you know what I mean by that? Get in their faces, wear down the D, make the smart play, get into the opposition's equipment. Like, the Oilers play nice boy hockey because they can and they're skilled and they usually win. But they need a couple a-holes. They need some sandpaper.
I said that earlier today. I said, like, up front, right. This forward group needs a little bit of sandpaper.
They do.
We're not talking about guys who are going to go out and drop the gloves and beat the crap out of everybody.
No, just make it hard on the opposition.
You need to have some guys who, while they might not put the puck in the back of the net, they make it hard for the defense to go down and pick up the puck. And right now, the Oilers really don't have anybody doing that.
Nope.
Like, Podkolzin will get down there, but outside of that, if you're a defenseman playing against the Edmonton Oilers, as brilliant as the Oilers are offensively, you can't tell me it's a rough night.
Nope.
Like, going back to get the puck.
They're beating you with skill. You're not getting out of that game with a bunch of bruises. You're usually like, I'm ready to play tomorrow.
All right, text messages to 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Big Dave is in and says, as the price of Oilers tickets are so expensive, could I start rolling my money into buying tickets to watch Hernan's reactions during the pre and post games in studio? Given the way the Oilers have played the last 2 games, it might be more entertaining. I do like the idea of us selling 4 tickets for $50 a ticket, and they sit, they sit right here in this, and just to watch Nanso's face over there. That would be
it's his
pretty funny.
And his like gestures, and I'm sitting there trying not to laugh because we've been doing this together for so long. That I know when he's fired up. Like, I thought he was going to be okay going into the post game last night or yesterday afternoon. And a couple of texts come in, and away he goes. That fuse is lit, and he just popped off. And Belsey wasn't having much of it yesterday.
Oh, even Belsey was
at wit's end. It was KCF.
I haven't seen KCF in a while.
KCF in my early 1260 days when I started doing pre and post game full time would come at me, and he would have some good takes, some awful takes. We all have those, especially when you're dialed in the heat of the game and all that motions of it. The last couple of years, KCF's been pretty good. Like, I actually agree with him a lot of the time. Yesterday, he had an all-timer, and then he just started calling all of us names, and finally, he's like, I coach junior hockey for Hockey Alberta. And then Belsey, just under his breath, after rolling his eyes, the hardest I've seen Belsey roll his eyes, just goes, no wonder we don't have any good goalies in this province.
Oh, jeez.
I know. And I was like, oh,
that's a pretty savage burn.
I'm like, KCF's a regular, although you don't always agree with that.
That's a pretty savage burn, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
All right. The troll text in this today, 780-218-9999. And says, I think the stupidity of Canucks fans may have infected some Oilers fans last playoffs. I don't remember there being this many stupid takes in years past. And then in brackets, he says, I don't have your access to your text inbox, though.
Oh, you lose a few IQ points when you read the inbox for a full day.
Okay, what do you think Knobloch was doing with the
honestly just trying to
Colson and Kapanen thing?
Like, were there any indicators to anyone out there? Anyone? I'm opening the door and the floor to anybody. Were there any indicators to suggest to us out there that quote unquote top line would actually do anything positive? I think when I saw it, I had to like a double take. I was like, what? What was this? Is this? I thought it was somebody, Chat GPT that said, hey, Chat GPT, give me the most hilarious Oilers lines you could think of. And then that's what they decided to do. Yeah.
I was thinking, like, was he trying to get a look at like the Nuge line instead and see what's going on there? Like, he can't possibly look at it and go, man, Kapanen and Podkolzin with McDavid. This is the juice here. I don't get it. And Knobloch's been very good at like, he's been a great coach, and usually he really clicks with these lines. Yeah. But my God,
like, why Hyman with Nugent Hopkins and Arvidsson?
Why? We have line combinations today too.
I know. I'll go back to yesterday. Yeah, I'm just trying to look at this and go.
Okay, so give me that again.
If you're in Knobloch's shoes and Glenn Gulletson, why are you saying Podkolzin and Kapanen with McDavid? Like, I understand leaving Savoy with Draisaitl. Yeah, Savoy had a good first game.
Yeah,
Perry on that wing. Did you need that? Did you?
No.
Nugent. Okay. The only rational thought I have is that you wanted to go and be as balanced as possible at center. And that's what they did. But then they left a lot to be desired on the wings. Like, Arvidsson with Hyman flanking Nugent Hopkins. In theory, that's a veteran line that should be able to give you
it should be a
good
second
10 to 15
second
minutes.
Line in the National Hockey
League. It should be. But they're your third line because you have Draisaitl with Savoy and Perry for some reason.
Technically, they were your first line because they were the ones that produced.
Yeah.
But
Henrique between Skinner and Brown. Kind of like the Nugent Hopkins line. You're like, well, those are three veteran players that can give you a little something. Now you've got Skinner and Henrique and even Brown, who haven't really provided a ton of pop. So that you could be like, well, that's a flawed fourth line or flawed third line this year. None of those lines, outside of Nugent Hopkins, Arvidsson, and Hyman, are you going, yep, that makes a lot of sense. And even me saying that about Nugent Hopkins, Arvidsson, and Hyman is a stretch because you have to convince yourself that Nugent Hopkins and Hyman will be able to give Arvidsson a little bit of something because he really hasn't done anything. Like, even at the Four Nations, he didn't do anything. Like, that line, you're trying to convince yourself that it's going to be okay. You don't look at it and be like, yeah, that's good. You have to be like, well, it should be okay in theory, but it might not be today. And guess what? It wasn't. Like, none of those lines. It was weird. That was great.
It was weird.
They worked.
It's the let's get into the nasty chat. A couple of things here. KB's trying to sort of explain maybe some of the reasons why Knobloch went with what he did, trying to get some sort of spark
Yeah.
That's one option. 2, Nuge, Hyman, and even McDavid have been offensively stifled lately. Dry has been the only force. And 3, begging Stan to make a move, showcasing the roster that he has given. And we'll get to more on the roster with Keep It or Clip It for Tommy Guns here in a little bit. The problem for me is trying to get some sort of spark by putting Kapanen with Connor McDavid. Like I just, that's not a, like, you don't, no, that doesn't make sense to me from a spark perspective. I don't get it. The guy wasn't good enough to play on your lineup on Saturday. You're going to put him next to Connor McDavid on Sunday against a better team. Like that just, I don't know, man. I think Knobloch's been like an A coach all year.
Yeah.
This was not an A or an A- move. It was strange.
Honestly, top to bottom, that entire weekend, everybody was off.
Yeah.
Like just...
Yeah, the entire team sucked.
They were all bad.
That was their worst weekend of the season, wasn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
They got thoroughly beaten in every facet.
Even pulling the goalie down 3.
I know.
Like, what, like... I don't...
Yeah. They weren't even playing Draisaitl and McDavid that much in the third period because the game was lost. And then you get a couple.
You still, yeah.
And then you pull the goalie with a couple minutes left and you're down 3.
I don't know.
That's just grasping at strings. And again,
helped Ovi.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
He buried that baby. He buried it.
He was terrific.
Even on that one where he only had a 4% chance.
There's only
a
4% chance.
When he had a clean look at the net.
It's Alexander Ovechkin.
Really? That's what our equation is? And it spits out 4%
That's what I was
probability
told
of him scoring?
Because they were talking about, you allow Ovechkin to score on a high danger, on basically
that's
a
what
weak
makes
goal.
That stat
and
flawed.
I was like, wait a second. I said, what are you talking about, Ovechkin? Like, which Ovechkin's goal was weak? And he said, well, the last one was from well beyond the circles. And first of all, it wasn't. It was from right at the top of the circles.
He scores from there.
And he's the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. And you allowed him to get a clean look against a backup. How do you think this is going to go? Like, how do you think that? So you're telling me that Alexander Ovechkin gets that shot 100 times and only scores 4 goals on Pickard? That's how it's supposed to be. Please. Come on, man.
I would put a 4% chance of scoring for Ovechkin somewhere in the neutral zone. Honestly.
Yeah, like anywhere inside the blue line, he should have
at least 10 to 15%.
I mean, you allow the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game to get a clean look on your backup from the top of the slot. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not blaming the goaltender on that one. Rip City Step says, I'll check the deserve to win-o-meter.
Please do. That one's not flawed at all.
All right. 780-218-9999. Lots to get to still. We'll get to your Popeyes headlines here. Mike in Thunder Bay texts in and says, you want the best part of back-to-back losses this weekend? It gave Skinner and the goaltender haters something to actually complain about. Rough games from both tenders, but I truly feel if the Oilers can upgrade their defense, it will start to change the way people feel about goaltending. So many bad plays that lead to grade A chances against. Goaltending isn't the biggest issue. The D-core is. Mike in Thunder Bay, sliding in here.
That's a good text.
I mean, I know some people might hate it, but if you put a gun to my head like this pen was a gun, and you put it next to my head and you said, what is the number one priority prior to the trade deadline? For me, it is to find somebody that can play ahead of John Klingberg.
Yes.
That has to be it.
That hasn't changed from day one of the season.
I mean, you have to find that guy. The goaltenders you currently have with a good team playing well in front of them, and this year's team is older and slower. Let's not pretend that it isn't.
Correct.
It's older and slower. That was a decision they made in the offseason. But you need to find another. Klingberg's not that guy. You want Klingberg to be a 7? I'll say this. Klingberg has been better than I thought he would, but I didn't think he'd do anything. So my expectations were down here. I think he's hit about here, but I still have Stetcher here.
I have him ahead of Stetcher.
I think I like Stetcher more than Klingberg, honestly, as of all-around complete game.
Klingberg had his best game of the year. He's only played 7, by the way.
Yeah.
His best game of the year, and followed up with his worst game of the year.
Either way, Stetcher or Klingberg should not be in your starting defense on game 1 of the playoffs.
Correct.
If somebody gets hurt and you have to go with them, I don't mind that depth. But they need to go and get a defenseman. And then after that, if you dabble in the goaltending and an upgrade somewhere, if you can find it, by all means, do whatever you need to do. But you cannot not address the blue line.
This is going to be me doing the foil thing that you described with a texter every time you make a point. Yeah, but Dusty, what are Stu Skinner's and Calvin Pickard's saves expected above average right now?
It's not good. It's not good.
I
and their
said
numbers
on
against top
Saturday
teams
or
aren't
Sunday,
good.
all those expected per 60 saves above average, throw all of that crap out the window.
I spent about 40 minutes reading about those yesterday.
Stats. And the people that base their opinion on those stats are taking themselves down the wrong path. Completely the wrong path. Those are indicators of diddly effing squat because they're so subjective and there's no consistent. They're so convoluted. Please tell me the pretzels that you have to
I
twist
tried
yourself
to
into.
understand it. I'm not going to lie. I read a couple of articles because my big thing, and then I saw somebody else send me an article last night I tried to dive into, but it was basically me in university again where I was like, I'm not reading this book. Like there was...
But you read the book.
No,
yes.
Not that book. I read a couple of articles that tried to summarize a little bit better.
Did it make any more sense?
From what I understood is that, and maybe I'm not saying this to be a prick. From what I understood yesterday, from some of the articles I read about expected goals against, expected, goals saved above expected and whatever, part of it, and this is what I was seeking, and I'm not sure I found my answer, but I'm not sure they take into account in the tabulation, and once again, I might be wrong on this, so somebody please send me an article that says otherwise, but I couldn't find in the two that I read if it's different if Ovechkin's taking the shot or if Tom Wilson's taking the shot.
Well, that goes back to this 4% chance of scoring.
This is what I kind of wonder.
If that's how you calculate it, you're lost.
I'm assuming they must factor that in, but like Draisaitl shooting from his spot is a lot different than Connor Brown shooting from his spot.
Absolutely.
And what I read was, it takes a ton of stuff. And was it a rebound? Was it being passed across? Was it like there's a ton of stuff and it's all very minuscule numbers and then it all adds up. But I wasn't sure, and I might have missed it. Maybe the two articles I read just didn't address it, but I wasn't sure if they take into account who's shooting the puck at the time. But I might be wrong on that front.
Smitty the Welder with 3 laughing emojis says, one day analytics are great, other days they are garbage. I know Smitty the Welder is amusing himself, but there are some analytics that you look at, you go, yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And then there's others where you're like, okay, what are we doing here? Why we're overcomplicating it? If it's weighted in subjectivity, you're screwed out of the gates.
What say you? 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. I know somebody came at me over the weekend on Twitter and was like, Dusty, I remember back in the days when you were against Corsi and Fenwick. And I said, listen, man, I've come around on a lot of this stuff. And a lot of them are somewhat valuable tools to evaluate things. But I also think some people only want to base opinions on those numbers. And that's it.
Yeah,
they don't care about anything else. They don't care how the team, like, it's just, to me, it's too much. There's no middle ground, and there should be a middle ground, I guess.
Yeah,
for the
that's fair
for the conversation. I think X-Ray J just sent in a picture of himself into the inbox at fresh off of a visit to Tommy Gunn's Tamarack, and it looks good. It looks really nice. X-Ray J, well done, sir. That is a Tommy Gunn's. Keep it or clip it right there.
Oh yes,
yeah, love to see
Mohawk action.
Love to see it. I can get there at some point too.
Yeah, you could.
This is getting really.
And it looks like they
now.
did a beard treatment.
Yeah, it does look like they did his beard,
Very
didn't they?
Good, X-Ray J.
Yeah, looks pretty nice.
Very good.
All right, 780-218-9999 is where you can chime in, and we'll get to a few of your text messages here. Yeah, you know what? Actually, let's maybe get into those right now. We'll get into your Popeyes headlines. Popeyes, of course, has that value menu available, $4 value menu if you're looking for a little snack here over lunchtime, or you're going to go pick up a little chicken sandwich, but you want to throw in a mini chicken sandwich as well, so your one hand looks bigger than your other. You can get that done at Popeyes. Spicy headlines. We got to talk deadline here for the spicy headlines.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And we'll be live in the Mail Boston Pizza on Wednesday, and we'll be more deadline talk there as well, obviously. I guess we have the new lines we can get to too in the spot. Do you want to bring those up?
Yeah,
we'll bring those up.
Them. Stuff.
I thought Tony maybe.
Tony.
Anyway,
Tony likes doing the lines. Yeah, let's go to find Tony.
We'll get to the new lines. No McDavid today.
Good.
Rest
Give
day.
him the day off.
Rest day. But yeah, the one's in, I guess a placeholder. Skinner maybe. You see that Skinner Hyman? What's going on? So let's get to the lines. We'll get to the lines that they're running with today as the road trip continues.
I'm not putting a lot into these lines either.
That's
I'm looking
weird.
At them like,
yeah.
This is like, hey, let's just go on the ice and we'll skate whatever, and then we'll figure it out tomorrow. Here are the lines from today's practice at Amalie Arena in Tampa. Tony adds a caveat or prefaces with McDavid's not on the ice, likely rest. Yes. Draisaitl between Podkolzin and Savoy. All right. Hyman centering Skinner and Arvidsson.
See, so that's not a thing.
That's not a thing. Nugent Hopkins with Janmark and Brown. Henrique between Kapanen and Perry. Now,
so does this not sound like McDavid goes with Hyman and Arvidsson and Skinner scratched?
Arvidsson and Skinner scratched?
No. McDavid goes with Arvidsson and Hyman, and Skinner's out.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of feel like Skinner's kind of a placeholder on that line?
Because Nugent Hopkins with Janmark and Brown is essentially what the third line was supposed to be. Swap Nugent Hopkins for Henrique, and Henrique now is your fourth line center. Kapanen with Perry. Yeah. So that probably an indicator that's a good point. McDavid goes there.
It goes there, and then Skinner probably, with the way those lines are constructed, I think comes out. But
with Skinner, I'm not saying he certainly played like it, but was, in everyone's opinion, Skinner actually okay yesterday in that game? Because he, among many, not standouts in a good way, but I didn't think he was.
He wasn't one of the worst
bad.
ones.
Yeah.
You can say that, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue with Popeye spicy headlines here. Oh, by the way, on the blue line, Emberson's out.
Emberson out. Stetcher in with Nurse. So Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Klingberg. Interesting.
To me, just to get a look of Kulak and Klingberg together, like you can't tell me that Stetcher and Klingberg helped this team more than Emberson. Like at least Emberson does one thing really well, right? He defends well.
Generally, yeah.
So that one seemed a little bit, I mean, whatever. He's had a good little run here. If you want to sit him for a game, sit him for a game. But
sure.
I don't know, man. Like Klingberg on that one goal yesterday when he got turned around the blue line and then skated back and just missed everything.
Yeah.
And they just passed it around him and I was just like, ugh.
Well, okay.
That's not good.
If you want to go down like the theory path, them taking out Emberson and putting in Stetcher and leaving Klingberg in there might be more so for those other two to get them going. Keep Stetcher involved. This is just a hypothetical theory. And then Klingberg, you got to keep him in the games to get up to speed. So who else are you taking out? You're not taking it. Like nobody's actually. Now, I know people would say, sit Bouchard, send him a message.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
I don't disagree with that because he has had a bad season. But even when he plays bad in game, like he did it in Philly, he didn't play particularly well yesterday in Washington. Hernan said it after the Philly game. Bouchard, they had to take him off of Ekholm's pairing, and he still played the most out of any defenseman in that game. As much as he has direct giveaways that lead to goals, doesn't pick up his man, soft in front of his own net, slow getting back, like they still put him out there so much.
Just one more note on the lines. I think I'd rather sit Arvidsson and play Hyman with McDavid and Skinner. Like
I honestly don't mind that.
Arvidsson should not be like he should not be immune to coming out of the lineup with the way he's played. Like,
yeah, what a little pickle.
All right, here's another one for Popeye's headlines. Dreger brought up the name today with the St. Louis Blues. Think there's any way the Oil could go after Jordan Binnington?
I have no idea. Do Oilers fans do you want that? Remember like a week ago during the Four Nations face-off when we're like,
there were some ups and downs with Binnington.
Why are they going to Binnington again? Why aren't they playing Aiden Hill? I said that. I was like, I think they're going to play Binnington by all accounts, the way John Cooper's going with this thing, but I would have played Hill. So now, have we changed our minds? Like, oh, Binnington's great. He's amazing.
I thought I saw something on Twitter today that Binnington is like one of 4 goalies who won a Stanley Cup in the last, 15 years with a save percentage sub 9 in the regular season.
How was Matt Murray in those years, by the way?
Well, yeah, like...
He won 2.
So, I mean, it kind of shows that you can win a cup without a goaltender who has a 9 save percentage.
Yes.
Kemper was another one.
Yes.
Binnington.
Kemper, Aiden Hill was the third stringer in that playoff run.
Yeah.
Antti Niemi.
What do you think you'd have to give up for Binnington right now?
I don't know. If you're looking from an Oilers standpoint, I still go like we were talking about Parayko and Shen 2 weeks ago prior to the Four Nations face-off. Who in their right mind actually thinks Doug Armstrong is going to deal with Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman?
I mean, I would put it at in the category of never say never.
Yeah,
but I'd also follow it up with an asterisk beside it that says, but probably never.
Yes.
Never say never, asterisk, but probably never.
Dude, are we forgetting these things? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
You need to trick them into trading him to somewhere else and use them as a third team and then bring him in.
Just negotiate with Alex Steen. How about that?
Go right to that point.
Go right
Start
to
from
him.
there.
But Alex, listen. Anyway. No, I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think he'd be an upgrade? Maybe. I don't know. There's not a lot of things about Binnington's game that give me confidence. The fact that he's clutch in Game 7 in Boston, in a Four Nations face-off final in Boston, makes me think that if the Oilers make it to the Cup final, they better be facing Boston if Binnington's their goalie. Thank you for laughing, Zach.
Where do you think Oilers management is at on their goaltending right now?
Not happy.
Like, do you think they're at a spot where they're sitting there and going on an urgency scale of 1 to 10, goaltending's at about a 6 right now?
I think it's got to be around.
It's creeping towards more urgent than less urgent.
Yeah. It's something that shouldn't have been a problem. They could deal with some flaws. Now they're going, I think the eyebrow's starting to raise. Like, are you guys kidding me right now? Are you guys kidding me right now? Do I ultimately think that they make a move at goalie? Probably not. I don't think they will. But it's frustrating.
Barry the Cheater says, guys, is Gibson really an upgrade on Skinner?
I don't think so. Is he hurt again? Someone
I would say, well, he's a little bit banged up, but I don't think it's supposed to be super. But here's the thing. This year, yes. The last 4 years, no.
No.
So you're basically looking for a guy who's hot right now for a guy who's not hot right now.
Yeah.
And you hope he can stay healthy. Skinner's been pretty durable for you.
Yeah.
And somebody did point out, Gibson's got a 912 career playoff percentage, but he hasn't played in the playoffs since Elizabeth was born. She just turned 8. So like Gibson hasn't been in the playoffs in 7 years. So I don't know if I'm looking into his save percentage as a 24-year-old in the playoffs as opposed to what you'd be getting now. So, I mean, if you want to pull it off, you want to go down that road, I'm not going to sit here and be like, what a god-awful mistake. But I'm also not sure I'm giving up significant assets for a marginal improvement, which some people will think I'm stupid for even saying just a marginal improvement. For a marginal improvement, if the team continues to hemorrhage chances as they have over the last 2 weeks. Like, it's not been good the last 2 weeks. They've been awful.
Yeah. Skinner's numbers against top-end teams, that stat is alarming.
Very concerning.
But we have seen him turn it up, crank up his game on a dime, like he did from the second to the third.
Have we looked at the rest of the group's numbers against those top-end teams?
Probably not good.
Are they? Well, that's what I mean. I don't think this team overall plays that well against the top-end teams yet this year.
If we're going to...
And you know why? Because they're older and slower.
Yeah, if we're going to micro-focus on Skinner's game compared to those top-end teams, I would also want to know how many high-danger chances the Oilers are giving up in those games. the defensive efficiency, if there's a stat for, I'm sure there's some stat for that, but like they are worse defensively on the blue line, personnel wise, and when they're actually playing the game than they were last season. And have been since the start of the year. And we recognize that. That has been consistent throughout.
Max Bazuzu over in the Nasty Chat. And if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart, of course, you can text us here on the oil stream, 780-218-9999. Make sure you stick around. EST Afternoons with Hernan Gager on the way. If you're watching on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. 53 likes away from changing 100 over there. But Max Bazuzu in the Nasty Chat says, that's the thing. It should be easier to find a surefire upgrade on Klingberg and a sure upgrade on Kapanen, as an example, than a sure upgrade on the goalies.
Max Bazuzu is right.
I think Max is right there.
And again, this is nothing new. We said going into the year, the Oilers better hope that the goalies are good enough to make up for the mistakes the defense are going to make. And that the defense can pull its bootstraps up and be adequate enough to get the Oilers to the deadline where they can make a deal. And for the most part, they actually have. They actually have. There haven't been a lot of instances in this season where all three facets of the game have been this bad at once. Like this weekend was the tippy top. They all hit a snag, if you will. But in general, like if the defense wasn't playing well, you'd get an extra save from your goalie. Or you'd get an extra goal from your forwards. If the forwards weren't scoring well, you might get offense from the blue line, and they'd give you a decent couple of games where they weren't giving you terrible, egregious mistakes in front of their own zone, or in front of their own goalies in their own zone.
We'll get to keep her clipping here right away for Tommy Guns. One more quick take that was really frustrating me over the weekend was the Oilers when they would fall behind. A bunch of people were like, "Of course they gave up. They're going to give up when their goaltending sucks." I'm like, wait, if this is a team that gives up when their goalie has a bad game, then they're never going to win anything anyway.
In theory,
I'm sorry.
Right.
I mean, they're not. This is a team that, for a while now, has proven that they're usually hungry enough to come back and win hockey games. Like,
and they've done that many times.
I hate the fact where it's just like, well, after the fourth goal, the team just gave up because they don't goaltending's a joke. I'm like, nah, I'm sorry. You're just giving the rest of the team a pass when you say something like that, a pass to play awful like they did this weekend. I just think that's a cop out, and you don't want your team approaching it that way. And if they do, they're effed anyway. So
the Oilers, when getting scored on first, are 14-15-0 this season. So they've allowed the first goal, 29 times?
Yeah.
This is about roughly half the
That's about half the time. That's weird. I thought they allowed the first goal every game.
Some would tell you that.
Exactly.
I saw your eyes.
Well, I mean, that's what it seems like. They allow the first goal every single game. That's what people say.
When they score first, they are 24-4. Well, actually, sorry. They scored the first goal last night. So, pardon me. They are 14-14 when allowing the first goal, and they are 25-4 now when scoring the first goal.
All right. So the guy should score earlier. There you go.
They scored a minute 30 or 40 in yesterday. They
that was
scored
it. That's
early
all they needed
against the Flyers. Like it was Murray talking about ebbs and flows on the hangout. It happens.
You know what? That's really what this is. They're still a great team. They've got some areas where they could use some upgrades, like other good teams.
Yeah,
they
went 50. Was it 54 games? Because yesterday was team game.
Has Knoblauch ever lost 4 in a row?
He hasn't this year. I'd have to look back at last year. I don't know if he did
after he took over either last year.
They went 51 game, 50. 0-3. What'd they go? Yeah. So they went more than 50 games without losing 3 in a row. That's pretty good. This stretch has been bad. Yes. But the indicators are they'll dig themselves out of it. They'll nip this in the bud, potentially tomorrow. And then they'll clean up their act. Now, if they don't, heading into the deadline, the panic button gets hit. It's already kind of getting hit. But 50 games without losing 3 in a row is pretty good, Dusty.
Yeah. It's I'd say it's better than pretty good.
I'm being modest.
Now, if they lose 4 in a row, then it's a different story.
Oh, look out!
That it's full blown freak out mode.
Mm-hmm.
I would think. All right, 780-218-9999. If you have any questions for Keep It or Clip It for Tommy Guns, you can send those over right now, and we will get to a few of those. Shout out to X-Ray J for going and getting that haircut at Tommy Guns earlier today. Joel over in the chat saying that I need a haircut. This is probably the longest my hair's been in like 8 years. But it's I don't know, it's nice and thick. Like it looks, I mean, it doesn't look great, but it feels great. I just like the fact that I still have this much hair. You know, like just...
Me too.
Yeah, I think you have to be happy with that. Anyway, at Tommy Gunn's original barbershop where X-Ray J went today, they believe a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. It's about the whole experience. That's why they follow the code, a commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every single time you visit. From check-in to the finishing touch, every step is crafted with care. No appointments needed. Just walk in, relax, and they will take it from there. Keep it or clip it, Tommy. John Klingberg should not be a top 6 guy come playoff time.
Keep it. If he's your 7, then that's good. I think I compared him to Dick Tarnstrom in 2006. Dick Tarnstrom had better seasons previous with Pittsburgh, and I think he ended up being their number 7 with the Oilers. He got in and out of the lineup, but yeah, Klingberg, listen, I say this. It's a step in the right direction, improvement over Troy Stecher, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they still need to go out there and get a right shot D. If they go get a left shot guy, sure, whatever. But, you know, people were asking, is Klingberg the guy to play with Nurse? And people were asking that last week. The answer is no. Okay? He's no. Maybe if he fills in here or there, and then in those games that he parachutes in to start the game with Nurse, you're probably still sliding Kulak up there with Nurse in important moments.
Well,
unless you get a guy.
Like Rashog talked today about maybe Kulak becomes your default right side guy with Nurse, and then you acquire a left shot guy because you got Klingberg as a righty and Stecher as a righty, and Emerson as a righty.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that would be the I think you're playing with fire if Klingberg's in your top 6 going in the playoffs.
I agree. If Emerson is he's still learning, right? This is his first full NHL season, and by all accounts, I agree wholeheartedly. He's done pretty good. If you're going to pencil him in, slot him in as your 6th defenseman, 3rd on the right side, going into the playoffs, okay. Kind of like Matt Green did, if you want to go back to 2006. Kind of like Matt Benning did, because he had a good rookie season in 16-17. Emerson's been okay, but you still need someone who could be on that second pairing on the right side. You have Kulak on the left side on the 3rd pairing, and then Klingberg can be your veteran number 7 D-man. Oh, by the way, Troy Stetcher's still kicking around too.
Alexander Ovechkin should stick around and go for 1,000 career goals.
I say keep it. I think he will.
I think I say keep it too.
I like that.
I mean, the dude's scoring at the 2nd best rate in the National Hockey League this year.
Amazing.
What would he need? 3 more years after this to hit 1,000?
Yeah, about that. Because he'll finish with what, 30, 40-ish?
Well, he's at 29 right now.
Yeah, he'll probably.
If he's going to break the record, he's going to have to be at 42 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
I
think Ovechkin 1,000 goal chase would get some eyes on it.
100%.
That would be good.
I keep it. I like the idea of it.
I also don't mind the idea of him setting the all-time record. The Caps win the cup this year, and he's just like, that's it. I'm out.
I would respect that very much.
That's a pretty big mic drop move. If you can get your 2nd cup in the same season you break Wayne Gretzky's record, what do you really have to come back
like,
for then?
Deuces, I'm buying an island and moving there.
All right, how about this one? Keep it or clip it. Jeff Jackson's offseason gets no more than a C+.
Oh, clip it. As vitriolic as we can be, as of right now, they're a better team. Is it as good as we thought? No, it's not an A.
It's not an A.
I did leave it at a B.
His best moves have been Podkolzin and Emerson.
That's wrong.
Which are like two sort of like.
But the team as a whole is better.
Yeah.
Now it depends how they finish. They're different though.
Like
it is a different team.
I don't know if you want a slightly older and slower team in the playoffs.
No, you don't. You want speed, skill.
Well, we
grit.
agree that they're older and slower though.
100%.
So I don't know. I'd like to see a little speeding added to the lineup.
The way what has really been the ink on the face of the Oilers management team has been the Holloway-Broberg thing. Because those two have stepped in and been important parts of a bad St. Louis team, but they would have been just fine here. Don't get me wrong. We have to remind ourselves that Broberg was
that also
100%.
has to factor into the offseason grade.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
Could have made it a priority to get those guys done.
But right now, they're a better team. They're right at the top of the division. It was bad. It wasn't. Holloway, I would have just kept him. Broberg was complacent, or not complacent. He was unhappy, and that's the one I would have been like, okay, as much as it's going to hurt, go. We're not giving you $4.6 million.
I want to
Holloway, I would have kept.
I want to get to this one in the nasty chat from Brett B because I kind of agree with him. He goes, "This year's been weird. It seems like the sum of the parts is better this year, but the individual parts are worse than last year. I'm not sure if any of that makes sense." And I think he's kind of right. Like, they have. So we were going over it on Lock Shop today. Winnipeg has 8 forwards with 26 points or more already, and the Oilers have 4. Yeah. Like, they're just they're not getting a lot from those other guys, and but as you said, I mean, they're ahead of where they were last year standings wise at this point.
Yeah.
So
technically, they're a better team.
Yeah.
But they could be even better.
Well, but they could be, right?
I know.
They could be even. That's the thing. I think that's why so many people are frustrated about all different elements of the team. For some of you, it's goaltending. For some of you, it's defense. For some of you, it's all of it. For some of you, it's the grit thing. But they're still awesome. They're still a really good hockey team. Just didn't look like it this past weekend.
And they could have had both of those guys on the roster, and they still could have had a stinker of a weekend. That does happen. Was that it for Keeper to Clip It, or do you have another one?
No, that's it. That's the other one we already kind of talked about. So, what's coming up on EST Afternoons, boys?
Are they playing video games?
I don't know where. Zach comes right here. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah, of course the boys.
There he is. Hey,
the
there he
boys
is.
will talk ad nauseum. Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum.
Ad
AD.
nauseum.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to me. I always thought it was at nauseum.
Me too. I always
Ad
mess it up.
nauseum.
What's
Ad
the
nauseum.
ad? What's the word ad? Like, what's the
Like
Together?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No math in that.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
My parents
Derek
are
Van
Polish
Diest.
and Italian. You think I was supposed to know English?
No, definitely
No,
not.
not at all. Me neither. Derek Van Diest is joining the boys at 1:40, and of course they'll talk a lot about the Oilers goaltending and just the games that happen.
Beautiful. Excellent. All right, so DVD rolling in at 140. I'm sure Gager's got some hot takes locked and loaded as well. The next oil stream will be live from the Mayo Boston Pizza on Wednesday. So make plans to come join us there. We will be set up. I'll be doing Lock Shop there. We'll be doing oil stream there at lunch as well. And then Thursday, Tommy will be at Westgate for pre and post as well. All right, that's going to do it. Oh, boy. This feels like we've turned the corner towards deadline and playoffs now.
Yeah, it has.
And it's on.
Let's go.
It's on now. The oil stream brought to you by our great partners over at Boston Pizza. EST Afternoons with Hernan and Gager on the way. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, stick around. That show will be starting at 1 o'clock. If you're watching on YouTube, turn on the autoplay. That'll take you right on over when the next show begins. For Tommy Gazzola, I'm Dustin Nielson. Talk to you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Take it easy.